Hi there. Thanks so much for being here. If it's your first time, please consider subscribing and sharing this video. It helps me out immensely. Let me know where you're watching from. I love reading your comments. On we go. My name is Carter. I'm 36 years old, and I earn my living in the sky. Flying has been the rhythm of my adult life. Predictable, peaceful, always above the mess. Maybe that's why Miranda caught my attention. She was the opposite of everything I knew, unpredictable, magnetic, and fearless. As a wedding planner, she had a gift for conjuring up fantasy and making it feel like reality. We were together for 3 years before I proposed. She said yes beneath a waterfall in Maui. It felt like something out of a movie. Our wedding was lavish, just the kind of spectacle Miranda thrived on. She managed every detail with the same intensity she gave to her high-end clients, only this time the stakes were personal. The cost was staggering, but I didn't say a word. Afterward, we flew to Italy for our honeymoon. We skipped the tourist traps, cooked our own meals, and stayed up late sharing bottles of wine. For a brief moment, I felt like I was living in someone else's dream. But on the flight back, something shifted. Miranda grew distant, not upset, just detached. She kept glancing at her phone when she thought I wasn't watching, smiling at messages she never showed me. 2 weeks after we got back, I walked into the kitchen for some water. Her phone lit up on the counter. I didn't mean to read it, but the name on the screen caught my eye. Mitchell. I remembered him, her ex from college. She once told me he was ancient history. The message read, "I miss how you used to look at me." She walked in right as I was staring at it. "Mitchell, huh?" I said. She snatched the phone up like it was on fire. "It's nothing," she claimed. "Doesn't look like nothing to me." "He messaged first," she said. "I didn't ask him to." I studied her closely. "Did you respond before he reached out?" She froze. In that silence, barely 2 weeks into our marriage, I understood that the woman I married could lie to my face. I didn't bring it up again that night. The following morning, I flew a short route to Denver and back. But the entire time, my mind kept returning to that pause, the silence where her answer should have been. Miranda never hesitated. She always had a response. But not then. 2 days later, we were at a birthday dinner for one of our mutual friends. During dessert, Tamara, tipsy and loose-lipped, leaned across the table and whispered to Miranda, "So, did you and Mitchell ever meet up last week? Or did he ghost you again?" Miranda froze, her fork suspended halfway to her mouth. I stayed perfectly still. She let out a nervous laugh and replied, "Oh, right. Yeah, we bumped into each other. Just grabbed a coffee." Tamara kept going, oblivious. "I still remember how head over heels you were for him in college. I told Adam, poor Carter, if Mitchell ever popped back up." Everyone laughed, everyone but me. Miranda slid her hand onto my leg beneath the table, as if that could undo what had just unfolded. I forced a tight smile but kept quiet. Back at home that night, I asked, "So it wasn't just a message. You saw him?" "I didn't lie," she said. "I just didn't think it mattered. It was only coffee." "Was that before or after he texted you that he missed how you looked at him?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. "It wasn't planned," she said eventually. "It just happened. He's going through a rough breakup. It wasn't romantic." I dried my hands and looked over. "Did you mention that you're married now?" Another pause. "Of course I did." I nodded slowly, but I didn't believe her. The next morning, she told me she had a weekend retreat planned, a spa trip with some new co-workers out in the valley. No phones, just rest. "Who's going with you?" I asked. "People from the office," she replied quickly. "You don't know them." That Friday, I waited for her to leave, then grabbed my keys and followed at a distance. She didn't head for the valley or a spa. Instead, she drove straight into the city and parked at the Carlisle Hotel. I pulled over across the street and kept my eyes fixed on the entrance. At 6:08 p.m., she walked in, alone. She wore jeans, a fitted coat, and heels I hadn't seen since our wedding. At 6:22, Mitchell arrived. Tall, self-assured, exactly like the photos I'd once found on her old hard drive. He walked in casually, like this wasn't new to him. I followed inside, stayed in the background, and ordered a coffee at the lobby cafe. 3 minutes later, they met near the elevators. No greeting, no small talk, just a kiss, confident, deliberate, hungry. She touched his chest. He reached into his coat and handed her a room key. I stood, lifted my phone and snapped one photo, his hand on her back, her wedding ring visible as she pressed the elevator button. That was enough. I crossed the lobby and called her name. "Miranda." She turned like she'd been shot. Mitchell froze, caught mid-step. Her eyes widened. "Spa weekend, huh?" I said, keeping my voice calm. "Carter, let me explain." "I'm sure you've got a version," I said flatly. "Let me guess. It just happened? You were stressed, vulnerable, needed to feel seen?" Her mouth opened, but no words followed. I turned to Mitchell. "You're the famous ex. Figures." He began to speak, but I raised a hand. "Don't. This has nothing to do with you." I faced Miranda again. "You kept your ring on," I said. "Wore it here. That's not confusion. That's commitment. To someone else." She whispered, "Can we talk?" "Not here," she said, her voice breaking as tears welled in her eyes. "Please." I looked at her, my tone even. "I trusted you. I supported you. While I was trying to become the husband you deserved, you were upstairs preparing for this betrayal." Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "I'm sorry." I held her gaze without wavering. "I'll let the attorney know you've made your decision," I said, turning away as the elevator doors closed behind me. Back at the house, I powered up her laptop and started digging. Text threads, synced devices, cloud storage. It was all there. One album stood out. Madrid. The timestamps were unmistakable, 3 weeks before we got married. While we were choosing rings and practicing our vows, she was reigniting an old flame. I compiled everything, chats, images, metadata, into a folder. This wasn't revenge, it was evidence. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was building a case. She didn't return that night. No text, no call. The silence didn't sting, it brought clarity. The next morning, I locked down accounts, removed myself from shared assets, redirected our savings into a personal fund, and contacted my attorney. We scheduled a meeting. At exactly 6:01 p.m., the door opened. No warning, no message. She stepped inside slowly. "Can we talk?" Her voice was faint, frayed, like she hadn't slept. I didn't respond. I was already seated at the kitchen table. She sat across from me without waiting for an invitation. "Carter?" I panicked. "Everything got too intense," she said, her voice trembling. "You had choices," I said coldly. "You chose him. It wasn't what it looked like. You kissed him in a hotel lobby. You took his room key. That's not something you misread." She blinked rapidly. "I never meant to hurt you." "But you did," I said. "You didn't just hurt me. You embarrassed me. Publicly. And I have the receipts." I slid a folder across the table. Inside were screenshots, photos, message histories, some dated a week before the wedding. She didn't even reach for it. "What do you want me to say?" she whispered. "Nothing," I replied. "I want you to leave." Her expression shifted. "Carter, we're married." "No," I said. "We had a wedding. The marriage ended when you let him take your coat off." "It was one mistake," she insisted, rising to her feet. "It was just one night. You were planning that night while I was writing my vows." Tears rolled down her face. "I don't want it to end like this." "Then maybe you shouldn't have started it that way." She took a step as if to reach for me. I stood and moved back. "This isn't a pause, Miranda. It's over." She didn't argue. She didn't plead. She turned, went upstairs, and quietly packed a small bag. I remained at the kitchen table, unmoving. 15 minutes later, she came down with a carry-on slung over her shoulder. No words, no parting glance. The door closed behind her with a weight that felt final. She was gone. But the devastation she left behind stayed. The stillness in the house grew heavier with every passing hour. By Tuesday, lines had been drawn. Some mutual friends distanced themselves. A few reached out. Her friend Lauren called. "I honestly didn't think she'd go through with it," she admitted. "I told her not to. She said it was just for closure." I said nothing. "She's not in her right mind." "She had the presence of mind to book a hotel suite," I replied, and ended the call. The most painful part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was how the truth kept surfacing in fragments, each revelation cutting deeper than the last. On Thursday morning, a Facebook message arrived from someone named Jenna, a stranger. "Hi. We haven't met, but I think your wife was involved with my fiancé, Mitchell. I found you through a photo tagged on Miranda's page. I called immediately." Jenna's voice was eerily calm, considering what she was about to say. "I'm 6 months pregnant," she said. "Mitchell and I were engaged. Our wedding was planned for October." I stayed silent. "I looked through his phone last week. There were messages from your wife, some recent, some going back months. This has been happening for a while." She sent the screenshots. One message read, "If I asked you not to let me go this time, would you?" Mitchell had replied, "I never wanted to." Then Miranda responded, "I'll say yes, even if I'm already married by then." The message was dated days before our wedding. I stared at the screen, speechless. Jenna ended the call by saying, "I just thought you should know. You're not the only one." That evening, Miranda called. No voicemail. Then another call. And another. By the fourth, I let it ring out. Then the message came. "Carter, I don't even know where to start. He lied to me. It was all fake. He's still with someone else. He used me. I was a fool. Please, can we talk? I'll do anything." I saved the message. 1 week later, an email from our company's executive team landed in my inbox. Subject: International assignment. Urgent response required. They were launching a new cargo hub in Singapore. Major expansion. Higher salary. Full relocation. Minimum 2-year contract. I didn't think twice. I accepted immediately. 2 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, then answered. "Carter?" It was the last voice I ever wanted to hear. I hung up. A message came through seconds later. "I heard you're leaving. Please, let me see you before you go." I didn't say anything. My farewell gathering was set for the following week. The team had reserved a rooftop bar downtown. There'd be chilled drinks, heartfelt toasts, the usual goodbyes. As the evening unfolded, Kevin, my co-pilot and closest confidant, approached with a quiet urgency. "Someone's here for you," he said. I turned around. Miranda. She entered like she belonged there. A fitted black dress hugged her figure, her hair perfectly styled in soft curls, makeup precise and flawless. The room shifted. Conversations died. Every head turned as she made her way across the floor. "Someone from work mentioned the party," she blurted. "I'm not here to make a scene. I just needed one chance to say what I couldn't before." Her eyes shimmered, voice trembling. I remained still, silent, as she began to unravel. Mitchell lied. All of it. Fake. He was still engaged. Told me I meant everything, then vanished when she found out. I threw away the only thing that was real. I realize that now. I gave a slight nod. "Do you believe me?" she asked, her voice cracking with desperation. "I've been going to therapy. Cut everyone out who led me into that disaster. I was reckless, chasing thrill over truth. But you were it all along." The room had gone quiet. I stepped closer, my words quiet but final. "The woman I married is gone. And the one standing in front of me? I don't recognize her." Her mouth trembled. Please, Carter. My response was immediate. You already had your chance. It came with a vow and a ring. She recoiled, eyes welling with fresh tears. It was a mistake. No, I said evenly. It was a decision. She stood frozen in place, enveloped in silence. I turned and walked away. 10 minutes later, Miranda left too, alone. My flight to Singapore was set for 6:10 a.m. I got to the airport a little after 4, the sky still cloaked in darkness. I hadn't checked in yet, just waited quietly near the entrance, scanning the space, watching. And then I saw her. She spotted me instantly and rushed over. "Carter!" she called out, her breath unsteady. "Please, just wait." I kept walking. She stepped into my path, blocking me. "Give me 5 minutes, that's all." From the side, another figure approached. Her father, Frank. He looked older, worn down by time and regret. He gave me a solemn nod. I nodded back. "I bought a ticket," Miranda said softly. "Not to follow you. I just needed to be close. I had to prove I mean it." I stayed quiet. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small photo album. Our wedding, our honeymoon. "I know I destroyed everything. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know I still remember what we were." My eyes flicked to the album, then met hers. "I remember too," I said. "And I remember how you shattered it." She inhaled shakily. "Real love is worth fighting for." I leaned in slightly, my voice even and quiet. True love doesn't require chasing someone through terminals. It doesn't need apologies after betrayal. It's there when it matters. Her face froze. I held her gaze. "The divorce is already in motion. My lawyer will be in touch." Frank stepped in and gently took hold of her suitcase. "Are you done embarrassing yourself?" he asked quietly. She didn't respond. Without another word, I turned and walked toward security. At the gate, I glanced back one final time. She hadn't moved, just stood there, speechless and still. The boarding call came. I stepped forward, toward whatever came next. It's been several months since that night. Just last week, I closed the sale on the house. The keys, the deed, the address, they all belong to someone else now. That part of my life is finished. Miranda moved back in with her parents. She's staying in therapy, trying to rebuild from the ruins. And me? I've started over. New city, new beginning. And for the first time in as long as I can remember, nothing left to carry. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.